My name is Dakota Butler, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Who am I? This is a question in which I put a lot of thought into every day. Throughout every decision I make and every path I decide to take. And to be honest, it's one of the hardest questions to answer. I like to think of myself like this. Have you ever seen that scene in the Avengers where Captain America is asking Tony Stark what he is without his suit of armor? And then Tony responds, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Well, I'm an actor, musician, model, and filmmaker. Take something away from me and I have many more ways to create. But to truly understand who I am, let's start at the beginning. Let's go all the way back to where I was 3 years old, sitting down on the floor watching my favorite all-time movie, Jurassic Park. This movie sparked a light inside my very young mind. Everywhere I went, whether it be visiting family or just going on vacation, I would always have my copy of Jurassic Park on DVD at hand at all times. I was fascinated with all the different layers of filmmaking put into this movie. I was amazed at the special effects work, the perfectly crafted suspense filmmaking, and the wonderful characters portrayed by these brilliant actors. This film is the reason at such a young age, I knew I wanted to be making movies one day. A couple years later, I finally received my first real camera. I was so excited. I started making short films starring yours truly and some truly amazing friends. Everything seemed to be going great. Well, until a little hiccup happened in my life. At a very young age, my parents got into a very nasty and stressful divorce. I remember having to constantly be around police officers and child protective services. Also at this time, I was having to look after my very confused younger brother, who didn't really know what was going on because of just how young he was. This was a very dark time in my life. I felt like all the passion that was building up inside me had just become stripped away. The light has been blown out. I soon began stress eating and eventually became overweight. This led to me becoming even more depressed because I hated the way I looked and I began to hate myself even more. However, the one thing that kept me going throughout these horrible times was the passion to create. I started getting into music, especially drumming. Things eventually started to become better over time, and I felt like my creative spark has slowly been reignited. At this point in my life, I started to get better equipment and making longer short films. I also became really interested in special effects work. I started to build props, learn how to work with prosthetics and different pneumatic systems, and practical effect makeup work. I also started to dabble in some CGI based off of certain apps in my iPad. I had to start getting really creative. With these short films, I decided to mainly focus on horror scenes and a couple action scenes, which I believe turned out pretty well considering I was shooting on an iPad with some smaller cameras and I was only 14 at the time. I even started a YouTube channel, which is still up and running today. Soon I would move on to high school and my drumming would lead me to becoming the drum captain at the high school's drumline. I also began losing weight. Throughout wonderful motivation of family and friends, I began to feel better about myself and my body. Also in high school, I joined my school's production team. Here we filmed many different short films and different projects for the school to air on the TV. Now, I find myself continuing my passion at one of the best film colleges in the country, Full Sail University. So far, I'm having a great time being able to create. This is all I ever want to do in life, and I'm so happy I'm still able to do it, even now in college. Now, looking back at the question, who am I? After thinking it out for all these years, I think I'm gonna have to settle on this. I am an artist.